What's up, everyone? You are tuned in to the channel Eves. I'm your host, EEPMON, episode 84. And tonight, I would like to talk a bit about my dreams and aspirations while I was coming up in my creative career. I still like to think I'm still coming up because the journey never ends, folks. Well, as some of you know, I don't know why, but I absolutely love to travel to Japan. Japan because I guess it's the land of video games, and I was growing up playing Nintendo, Transformers, Dragon Quest, of course, the introduction to anime when I was very young. I was like, what is this cartoon? It's not for kids. It has really like mature conversations, content, Ghost in the Shell, Akira, you know? So it was such a fascinating world to me. And as a creator and as an artist, of course, the aesthetics in the world. Oh yeah, don't forget the Walkmans, the Sony Discmans, like all that technology stuff back in the day. It just fascinated me, let alone the food and the fashion, all that. Um, but of course, like as a creator, as an artist, there was a lot of appeal, which made me very curious to know more about what is going on the other side of the world. Well, the other side of the world in general, because, being born and raised here in Canada, my view of the world was very limited within the scope of North America, of course. But growing up, me being a Chinese Canadian, I have relatives from Hong Kong, from Asia side, and my relatives had the Famicom. Like it just sort of like I had this sort of wanting to connect with my Asian heritage. So of course, Japan, well, I'm not Japanese, but a lot of the influence that I had growing up were from Japan. And I sort of like started my reconnecting to my Far East Asian connection, which led me to, of course, Japan, led me to China, all that side. So I'm kind of like in kind of both worlds, East and West. But the movie that really did it for me was Lost in Translation. If you remember this movie, it was a 2003 romantic comedy drama starring Bill Murray as Bob Harris and Scarlett Johansson as Charlotte. But what was really cool was that it really revolved around being in Japan, of course, and the cultural, how do I say, the almost like culture shock in which the characters engaged in being in a very unfamiliar place. But at the same time, it was really cool because it was sort of like creative people in the creative industries in Japan doing cool things. I was like, wow. Like they're in a totally new world and they're just doing some really cool things. There are these nice, like a nice hotel, nice environment, doing this. And what's their job? They're creators, they're artists. And I was like, wow, that really was, I wanted to do that. I wanted to have a career where I could travel the world, and do things based on it. People would want to come to me to do creative things, not only do creative things, but do something at the other side of the world. Like that was crazy. It's a crazy idea, crazy dream, maybe a selfish dream, but that's what I saw that. I was like, I want to get it. I want to do that. So what did I do? Like, I was so inspired. I was like, wow, what does it take to do that? What do I need to do? And well, of course, what I did is that I went to Japan. I say, well, no one's gonna pay me. I'm a nobody. I'm not. I'm like, I like to think that I'm creative and I have what it takes, but I'm a nobody because there's there's a million of other creative people. So how do I stand out? So what I did is, well, you got to do what you got to do. You have to like pay your way through. You have to do your due diligence, and you have to, you know, take action and make it happen for yourself first. And that's what I did. I went to Japan, and by traveling there, and as of course, I'm gonna have a good time. But my main goal was to like, hey, look, if I can secure a couple exhibitions or do something over there that's art related, it doesn't need to be a grand thing, but in some capacity involve my creativity as EEPMON to do something, then I'm very happy with that. I'm content. I'm content with that. So, and that's what I did. Like, I kept on going back to Japan. I had a couple exhibitions. I hit some people up, and then yeah, and then it started to develop. I think if you've seen some of my past episodes, I mentioned how I reached out to a couple people just by emailing them, very local. They're not like big brand organizations, to have a small show at a coffee shop. That's what I did. And that person liked my work, fortunately. And I went there. I brought my portfolio, brought my tube and my prints, brought everything. And then I did a little show at this cafe place. And long story short, the individual liked what I had to what I did, and he said, "Hey, by the way, I also organized something called Pechugucha Tokyo, and I think you'd be kind of cool too if you did a presentation over there to talk about your work." And Pechugucha basically is essentially you have 20 minutes and you have 1 minute to do a 1 minute per slide. So, and Pechugucha basically means chit chat in Japanese. So I said, sure, why not? Of course, I'm not going to say no. This is a great opportunity. And then from there, and when I went to Pechugucha, then I met people from like more like definitely people for the creative industries, working for all the brands, agencies, and that opened my eyes of like, this is what it takes to build that momentum, to build that dream, to aspire to get to that goal. And I was living it. I was executing it. I was, it wasn't like, of course I was still nobody, but I invested in myself to go over there, make the connections, build the relationships, get to know Japanese culture, have an exhibition, do the talk, and then and these things start. These are ripple effects, right? It just started with the idea of like, I want to go there, and then when it's and again it goes back to that chapter I talked about in the creative way of being, where the lightning boat is like, you have a goal, but it really is all about the surrounding of the energy that surrounds the lightning boat. Like you have that goal you have in mind, but most likely it's the serendipitous encounters and meetings and the derivatives that come from that goal you have is where the magic actually happens. I hope I'm making sense. I'm not sure if I am, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from. And this is something that you're gonna probably hear me say this many times repeatedly. But yeah, I mean, like, this is a very really good story to talk about because it allowed me not just to go there, but I learned more about my abilities, my potentials, and really like how far can I push myself? How far if I'm daring myself. Okay, if you could do this, can you take it a step further? Can you do this? Can you do that? You know, so Japan was a great launch pad for me. And then later on, I go to Hong Kong, I go to Shanghai, and because I'm more familiar with going to Asia more and more. That okay, all right, let's take a next step. Let's go to Hong Kong. Let's go to Shanghai. Let's go to Guangzhou. Let's go to let's see what's out there. And taking that playbook of like building your network, uh, meetings, business development, do some exhibitions, do some presentations. You start to amplify your reach. And I love that. I really love that because, as I said before, if like creating art is one thing for me, creating like design and stuff for brands and all that and art, it's great. I love it. But if you can use your art to like almost like a domain expansion, it's like you have your art is able to reach another dimension of an audience in the other side of the world. Like that is like incredible. That's a very powerful thing. It's exciting. It's like thrilling. And I guess this is true. The power of art does connect people. But yeah, I think like dreams and aspirations are very important. Despite what people say, there are gonna be a lot of people are gonna say, "Oh, you're just daydreaming. When are you going to get a real job? When are you going to get a real job?" Like I am. Oh, like this is the mouthpiece of complacency. That's the mouthpiece of I am afraid of the unknown and the uncertainties. I only understand obedience, stability, or perceived stability. And I am a obedient individual in a very structured and manipulative world, but they don't know it, they're being manipulated. You know what I'm saying? We artists, our role is to be not just to create art, but as a way to create a channel to express our point of view of what it means to be the freest of individuals, and through our art express that. I believe that's one of the main missions of creators. So as much as I share with my fellow artists the cringiness whenever we hear when are you going to get a real job, it just means that we have more work to do to show otherwise, to show the world much more, that there's so much more out there beyond what the status quo offers. So that's why I have these dreams and have these aspirations. And I do what I can to fulfill them. Despite the obstacles, the challenges, the naysayers, the ones who think they're providing advice, thinking that they know better. But there's something about us creators that we're so intuitive and we see things more in a qualitative lens that may not make sense for most people, but it goes a long way. It goes a long way. But pursuing these dreams and aspirations, you know that you are living, you are living your potential. I'm grateful that I have had opportunities and successfully achieved my dreams and aspirations. But I know it's not the end. It never ends. I will continue to move forward to fulfill the person I am today. The EEPMON that I am now has so much to do with the goals I set for myself. Those daring goals, which I said before, I dare myself. I dare myself. How far can you go? And through that, I became stronger. I became resilient. I became more aware, very observing of the world, the patterns, and a much more, confident individual. So that's why I think, where is this conversation going? Well, traveling has a lot to do with honing your character, I believe. Just so happens that I just love to go to Asia. I love to go to Japan. It's like in the anime terms, a domain expansion. It's like somewhere that's completely like a new realm, or a realm that you have access to. And if you have access to this new realm, you better explore it, because not everyone has that ability. And if you have that ability, fulfill it, explore it, see where it takes you. And that's why I continue to go back. I continue to go back to Asia because I know that I have opened that domain and I am far from fulfilling my potential there. That is called the domain expansion to Far East Asia. But it's very exciting. If I stay put, folks, if I stay here all the time, it would be absolutely boring for me. I can't stay in one place. I'm going nuts already. But I said patience. You have a lot on your plate in the summertime, and just stay put. But come September and October, I am out of here. EEPMON Arc 3 will conclude in September, and October will be the beginning of Arc 4, where I will be Asia side once again. What will it take me? I do not know, but I foresee, well, every time I go there, every time I go back, there's always a positive outcome, because I continue to follow my dreams and my aspirations. So for you fellow creators that are listening to this, or it doesn't need to be creators, I hope that this could be a good, not a lesson, but a perspective coming from me. Excuse me. Because I believe if I can do it, I think anyone can too. All right, folks. That's been my story. I hope you like what I have to talk about. Also, like and subscribe. And this is the channel EEPMON signing off. Have a great evening. Have a great afternoon. Have a great morning. Until next time, more stories to share in the future. Thank you. Bye-bye.